So today, me and my group members, Alia Rodney, Sparkle Dulat, and Renee Ravello, is going to be presenting Leading Change. So, what is leading change? Anybody, when you hear leading change, what do you think about? Anybody? Nobody? Okay. So, making changes and switching to new strategies can accomplished through leading change management. A framework or process called change management focuses on managing people as they go through change, making sure that people have the proper tools, information, and support will enable them to succeed. It's about handling change, to put it simply. So that is what leading change is. It's about handling change, making proper tools, information, and support so that the business can succeed. Social and economic pressure faced while implementing leading change in today's organization. So, specific studies have proven that people dislike change. Every day, businesses create new goods and services, and many of them are widely successful. The harsh reality is that majority of people dislike change. Two-thirds of organizational form initiates according to some estimate fails. Even when their lives are at stake, people said to be change resistant according to scientific studies. For instance, 90% of individuals who have undergo coronary artery bypass surgery don't alter their lifestyle behavior even when adjustments are ostensibly easy. When executives try to make changes within organization, they nearly always face some pushback. But for an organization to survive and prosper, change is required. Small businesses as well as large corporations and government agencies have all had to rethink nearly every aspect of their operation to adapt to changing client or customer needs, maintain employees' motivation and satisfaction, and stay effective and competitive in a complex global environment. The urgent requirement for change management is demonstrated by the following. The fundamental task of rethinking and creating either the entire organization or significant portion of it is being assigned to transformation officers by several businesses. Recall the leadership is not about stability but rather a change from the definition we use throughout this book. However, the rate of change has accelerated recently, posing considerably difficulties for leaders. Today's leaders frequently describe feeling like they are flying the plane as they are building it. New patterns are just beginning to emerge, but there are no assurance that they will be effective because the old patterns and behaviors and attitudes that formerly worked are no longer valid. It is the responsibility of leaders to help their followers navigate the discomfort and disorientation that come with significant change. So, I have a question. Why do you think people dislike change? Anybody willing to answer?
Because they are very comfortable in whatever situation they are already in. They got accustomed to the norms of that.
That is true. Anybody else? Okay. Yes, so a lot of people are comfortable with what they are used to For instance, you go to the grocery and okay, you see there are two packs of cheese balls, right? It have one from Sunshine Snacks and some and another one from probably another company that you never saw before. They will usually go for the ones that they know about because they'll think, well, the other one won't taste as good. So that is an example. Change or perish. So this is a picture of Jack Welch, and he said the end is near when the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside. In this way, the former General Electric chairman and CEO Jack Welch underlined the need for internal organizational reforms to keep up with changes in the internal world. Organizations must constantly adapt and evolve to stay up with the high speed of social, economic, and technological change. Environmental factors includes quick technology advancement, a globalized economy, evolving geopolitical dynamics, shifting markets, the expansion of e-business, and the quick dissemination of information via the internet are increasing dangers to organizational leaders as well as opportunities. I'm very sorry if you all are hearing my dog barking. All the time the dog wasn't barking. The inability of today's organization to adjust to all these environmental changes is a major issue. Better change leadership is a key component of the answer, even though there are many causes for the inability to change and adapt. Leaders act as the primary change role models and supply the inspiration and communication needed to keep change initiative going forward. Successful change requires strong, devoted leadership, and research has identified some important traits of leadership who can complete successful change projects. Rather than identifying as supporters of the status quo, they define themselves as change agents. They can integrate and explain values that fosters flexibility. They show courage. They believe in employees' ability to take responsibility. They acknowledge and learn from their own mistakes. They have visions and can vividly express their future vision. They are capable of managing complexity, uncertainty, and ambiguity. Although change is not always easy, some organizational leaders can assist their teams adjust to new situations, risks, and opportunities. To lead change, one does not necessarily need to be a top leader. Okay, so this was the continuation. So, leading major change. Change is inevitable. As a natural part of life, we are meant to adapt and integrate into changes, which at first may seem impossible and often sometimes unfair. Our society today is one of the warrants consistent due to factors such as digitization, and very often the change which spawned from these technological change involve thinking outside the box. So these are some of the changes: Tech, technology, strategy and structures, products and services. Yeah. So 8 stages of model and plan change. Leaders establish a sense of urgency that change is really needed. However, there is a frequent, no evident crisis, and leader must convince people that a change is necessary. The internal and external environments are thoroughly scanned by leaders, who consider aspects such as market positions, competitive conditions, social, technological, and demographic trends, profit and loss operations, and other elements. After spotting possible crises of issues, they devise means of drastically and widely disseminating the information, establishing a coalition with enough power to guide the change process, and then developing a sense of teamwork among the group. There must be a shared understanding of the necessity and potential for organizational transformation for the change process to be successful. A change in middle management will look to the coalition TOPS leader for assistance. The involvement of low-level executives is also crucial. People can come together through mechanisms like off-site retreat, which can aid in the development of a shared evaluation of problems and a strategy for addressing them. Developing a vision and strategy. A compelling vision that will serve as the direction for the change endeavor must be created and articulated by leaders, who must also create the method necessary to realize that goal. People are likely to make changes if they can see a very desirable future. 4. Leaders use every means possible to widely communicate the vision and strategy. The coalition of change agents should now lead by example by exhibiting the new behavior that they are required of the workforce. They must inform people of the change at least 10 times more frequently than they initially anticipated. Without the involvement and willingness of the majority of the organizations, members often to the point of making personal sacrifices, transformation is now achievable. Empowering employees throughout the organization to act on the vision. This entails removing barriers to change, which can entail changing any system, institution, or practices that obstruct or undermine the change effort. With the right information, tool, and discretion, people may influence events. Leaders generate short-term wins. Leaders set goals for observable performance gains, create the condition for them to occur, and recognize the contributors among their workforces. Major change takes time, and if there are no immediate successes that staff members can acknowledge, a transformation initiative losses memorandum. Getting the target motivated the team and kept the change effort moving. A short-term accomplishment that is extremely visible and successful, increasing the credibility of the change process and reignites employees' commitment and excitement. Keep the urgency building on the credibility and memorandum achieved by short-term wins to tackle bigger problems. Successful change agents don't simply declare triumph after modest accomplishments and relax to give people the drive and strength to tackle more challenging problems. They employ courage and perseverance. This frequently entails altering existing processes, structures, and regulations, recruiting and evaluating individuals who can carry out the vision, and ensuring the staff members have the time, money, and power necessary to execute the vision. Leaders make the changes stick. The transformation isn't complete until modification develop deep roots. So the employees do not perceive the changes as any, anything novel, but rather as a natural and essential component of how the organization functions. Leaders implant new values, attitudes, and behaviors. People who behave in accordance with the new values are praised and elevated by leaders for the new values and behaviors to be passed on to the leadership of the next generation. This stage also needs devising a way to ensure leadership growth and succession. Leading everyday change. Leaders may see the need for big change, but they may be unable to take bold action due to several factors, or they may know that aggressive action would be met with fierce resistance. Additionally, the nature of leadership requires consistent influencing others in a variety of minor ways. Each day, effective leaders seek to progressively change attitudes, presumptions, and actions in the direction of the desired future. Individual leaders across the organization who participate in everyday change initiates have a significant cumulative impact. The organization will benefit greatly from the tactics that leaders can learn to implement daily as daily dialogues and little acts spread to others. A selection of leaders incriminate change techniques. The method covers everything for the lone leader working alone to bring about slow change to working closely with others in a more focused and through change endeavors. So this is strategies range from individual leaders working alone to effect the gradual change to working directly with others in a more directed and extensive change. Creative self-expression. It involves a single leader acting in a way that will be noticed by others and that amplifies the beliefs or habits the leaders wants to implant in followers. This is the least obvious technique to promote change. Whether it's a leader who dresses casually in an office workplace where most people wear suits, or a leader who adjusts working hours to reconcile jobs and family life. Creative self-expression subtly upsets others' expectations and routine. Right words. Using this tactic A leader neutralizes an adversary negative, turning others' attitude, remarks, or actions into chances for change will be aware. Right opportunities. The research for creation of the exploitation of possibilities for inspiring people to change is a more open strategy for leaders. Alliance building. For, by forming strategic alliances, the leader collaborates closely with others to bring concern to light more quickly and directly is feasible when acting alone. This is the most visible and political charge method of bringing about daily change. So this is a chart of everyday change strategies for the private leader working alone. Create, creative self-expression, right opportunities, right words, alliance building, and the public leader working with others. This is Paul Wise. Paul Wise saw the value of forming strategic alliances with both the opposition and those who already supported and agreed with his ideas. Depending on organization, the situation of their own personalities, leaders exploit a range of daily change techniques. One of the most significant methods to affect change is through daily change techniques. One of the most significant methods to affect change is through daily efforts by individual leaders, whether they do it privately or alone or openly in collaboration with others, to make minor adjustments that eventually have a significant impact on the company and its members. So now I'm going to um, give the slide to Renee Rivero.
Hi, I just want to confirm if everybody can hear me.
Yes, yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, great. I'm just waiting for the slide to come up. Can everybody hear me clearly? Because my mic was giving a bit of trouble just now.
Yeah, it's quite good. No worries.
Okay, great. So a part of change is that it comes when we least expect it, and it's quite uncomfortable most of the time. But with the right leader, um, we we find that innovative ideas and creative aspects and concepts can allow the change process or to be more or less smoother, right? So leading change with innovation is what we're going to be touching on at the moment. So effective innovative leadership involves collaboration, recognition, demonstration, insight, creative and creative leadership accountability. Now the collaboration here would the collaboration here would clearly mean working not only together but also with other creatives. Recognition would mean here recognizing when things have been done well, recognizing when things have not been done well because it works both ways. Demonstration, creative leaders need to be able to make an impact, or innovative leaders as well, be able to make an impact and help the situation by giving proper examples of what they would like the change to go. Insight. It is all right if the creative leader offers his or her knowledge. And creative leadership accountability. Creative leadership accountability actually is, I don't want to say a fairly new concept to me because I've heard of it, but I've always thought of it in a negative um, light with regard to it being the leader sort of trying to keep everybody in the like on their P's and Q's. But what I have learned with regard to what from this presentation and doing and studying from this presentation is that creative leadership accountability involves the leader acknowledging that it's okay to step back and leave and entrust certain tasks to their creatives and not micromanaging all the time. So I find that to be a very important quality in an innovative leader and somebody who is supposed to be leading creatives. So can I have the next slide, please?
Did it change?
No. Okay, there we go. It's changed. So the factors which prompt change. So Aliyah would have mentioned that there are the nice little bubbles that she had there with some of the factors being societal changes, culture, technology, and all that. So we've discussed the matters which act as a catalyst for major change, technology, culture, etc. And because of this, the need for innovative thinking becomes paramount for adapting in today's world. One cannot hope to keep up with the pace of our current society. Therefore, leaders who hope to foster creativity need to set in motion the proper environment which enables this cultivation of creativity. And pretty sure we've all seen The Lion King. If not, what are you doing? You need to watch it immediately. But Rafiki says here in this little clip when he's talking to Simba about change and the past and consequence and action, that change is good, but it's not easy, which is sort of the central focus here in this presentation and learning how to lead change. So I think it's important in this day and age to understand as a creative leader or a leader meant to take charge of creatives and foster innovation that the world is currently changing. And in coming from a workplace perspective, um, we can't escape the change. Therefore, the only way is to truly adapt to it and work on ways to integrate changes. Next slide. Leaders who incite creativity. Limits have always been placed on creatives, even at a young age. So, um, has anybody ever had a moment where their creativity was hindered?
Yeah, I have.
Can you give us an example? Was it in class? It could be at any age, by the way. It doesn't have to be at this age. It could be at an age where you were in primary school.
Um, I don't know exactly if this would count, but I remember when I was in maybe like 12, I guess, like maybe 10 or 11 or something. I was in primary school still. Um, and I think sometimes, like, whenever I was getting like really into drawing, and I remember like some kids who were kind of like bullies to me back then would occasionally talk about my arts, kind of, whenever they saw like up on display, and they would say that it was like ugly or whatever. But if, I don't know if that necessarily counts or whatever.
Yeah, of course it counts.
It
Ridicule
does.
definitely counts. Ridicule counts because there you have an environment that is not adaptive to your your creativity, and therefore does not foster a creative environment for you to grow or to nurture your skill. So right there, it places a limit on your creativity, because I'm sure when you keep being bombarded with such comments, you feel the need to not participate in that space.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you have a major hindrance on creativity right there. Does anybody else have an example? No, sir? So you've never felt that your creativity had been hindered when you in any way?
I'm not allowed to make
Or
this
you're not
kind of
allowed? All
contribution.
right, okay. Okay, well then, as it's just as she said, it can be as simple as not being able to draw in the style you prefer, or being ridiculed for a particular taste in genre or general concept. That means fashion. Maybe you liked a different type of music that nobody else likes, and you were ridiculed for it. Or it can be someone or many people shooting down your opinions on certain topics. Anywhere that hinders your ability to contribute creatively is essentially what a, a creative leader aims to negate. So a creative leader will always do their best to foster an environment, or to present an environment that allows you to grow. Originality breeds good ideas, and these good ideas are often overlooked due to leaders who are obsessed with implementing their own way. Creativity has dwindled in the workplace, and this decrease in productivity is what manifests as a result. So next slide. So leading creative people. How do we lead creative people? So here we have a little creative cloud, so to speak. So there are many ways that we could um, channel creative people or lead creative people, right? So a creative leader should always encourage free thinking, diverse stimuli, unofficial activity, and communication. I want to touch on the communication first, because I can speak from speaking from example here. The communication um, between persons, regardless of rank in that company, whereas you have everybody from, it could be the CEO down to the administrative officer. They have a strong connection and strong um, manner of connecting and sharing concepts, so that there's never a lack of being on the same page. So the communication between personnel is crucial. Diverse stimuli is offering um, various ways to cultivate the creative mindset. So a diverse stimuli would mean, it could be as simple as a physical space to create it. Employers could deter themselves from a normal office setting, and they could put like a lounge area for people to work in. It could be as simple as changing an office chair to a beanbag, or anything that stimulates the mind to work and create. Um, I saw that one of my friends works in a place where on their office they have a cork board that they could put like little ideas, innovative ideas. When they think of things, they just stick it on the board. He works for a marketing agency, so they right there they have a space that encourages everybody to be creative, and no idea is seen as ridiculous, or no idea is seen as impossible. So that's important. Um, Unofficial activity is very interesting to me. Um, it encourages working on things that aren't related to where you currently work at. So, for instance, Google as their employees or allows their employees to work on a project once a week that has nothing to do with Google at all. And I'm just wondering, in anybody's field of work, would you say that your profession offers any of these um, branches of the creative cloud? Can you safely say that your environment fosters a creative mindset? I'm going to take that as a no. All right. So you can have the next slide. So how should a creative leader lead? So I saw this really nice video on YouTube. Can you press play for me? Can you all hear?
No, the audio is off. When you were coming in to set up your you were supposed to turn on include uh you're
Well, that's
supposed to
fine.
set it
I,
up to include computer audio.
that's fine.
All
Um,
right, all right.
I watched the video, so I can always just tell you what the video is about either way. But it's basically the same thing that I had mentioned before. A creative leader is supposed to welcome innovation. It is supposed to be, as it says there, reactive. So sometimes we may find that when we push an idea or when we present an idea to a leader, um, sometimes it could be not the reaction that we had hoped to achieve, um, or some leaders don't, right? Because they're so set on their way, they don't react at all, and that could be their idea of rejection. Um, Deep listening is also very important. Hardly ever we have um, leaders who are willing to actually sit down with their creatives and really discuss what innovative ideas, and part of fostering um, innovation in efforts to combat change is working together in that aspect. So creative leaders ought to understand that their creatives have valid opinions and are willing to listen to these opinions. So next slide. Idea champions. And why I'm mentioning idea champions, it's because all of those assets um, which tie into being a creative leader or leading creative people, an effective leader of creative people. Um, Once you've nailed that on the head, you have the cultivation of idea champions. And now, idea champions are perhaps one of the most crucial roles within the creative workspace. Not only are they the ones that channel the most innovative concepts, but they also see too that concept's fruition and implementation. But this title is not one that comes easily. Leaders who understand the importance of uh, space which caters to the flourishing of creativity is extremely crucial. If you have a space that does not cater to a creative mind or cater to the flourishing and nurturing of the creative spirit, then you cannot hope to foster change in an innovative way. As a leader, you need to understand this. And so the communication between individuals in the workplace, regardless of position, is especially crucial here. This flow of communication is what cultivates idea champions and encourages a healthy space to put forward and implement creative ideas. So, next up, now these are some examples of idea champions. We have Albert Einstein, He once said that logic will get you from A to B, and imagination will get you will take you everywhere. Now, everybody knows Steve Jobs. Well, I hope everybody knows Steve Jobs. Creativity is just connecting things. And I found these two quotes very interesting because um, it's amazing what creative people can do with a concept, and it's equally amazing when that mindset is nurtured and grown by leaders who are anticipating change in an innovative manner. And the third photo is your photo here. Yes, no, it's not a mistake. It's because every one of us can be idea champions in the right setting and in the right environment and space. So next slide. So I have a little exercise here before I stop on my little part. So if is anybody willing to participate in this exercise? It's just to take the word fish and write a 6-word story. Anybody want to try that challenge?
Sure. So what we
just
doing? Take
you're
it with
just take
just
the word fish and you're writing a 6-word story. It can and more and the more people, the better.
more people.
No, as in the more people that participate in this
Oh,
exercise.
okay, all right.
So take the word fish and write a 6-word story. And don't worry, nothing you
Hi.
say, no, absolutely nothing you say is
Uh-huh.
going to be. It's not a bad story. Don't worry.
I could start this one.
Pardon me.
I could start this one.
You want to take part in the exercise?
Yeah. I want to start the story.
Oh, sure.
So we could start with 6 words, right? There
Yeah.
once was a blue fish.
Oh wow. Okay.
Hmm. So we continue the story, right?
Yes.
This fish was my pet.
So there once was a blue fish. This fish was
This
my
fish
pet.
was my pet, Larry.
Larry. Okay. Anything else about Larry from anybody?
That flew over the hot sun.
That flew over the hot sun.
My my bluefish Larry is beautiful.
So there once was a blue fish.
He's also fried and very tasty.
Great. Okay. Anybody else want to contribute?
I'll say
He
one
said,
more.
One more? Okay.
The fish was a serial killer.
That the plot thickens. The plot thickens. Okay, great. Thank you all for participating in this exercise. And the point of this exercise is that when creatives are given a space to freely think and to execute their creativity without judgment, then we can cultivate some extremely entertaining and charming results about a blue serial killer fish named Larry. So thank you, everybody. And I'm going to pass the slide on now.
Good evening, everyone. Our main heading is resistance to change in the workplace. So first and foremost, what does the word resistance mean? Well, according to Cambridge Dictionary, resistance is the performance of challenging or slowing down a particular process or action. Now, next we'll move on to why employees would resist change in the first place? There are many reasons why, but the first one is due to the fear of loss of power. And the best way to explain this reason is if the change is an organizational change. So, for example, if leaders decide that they are going to change the organizational structure and the line of authority, a marketing manager, for example, may be worried that they will lose their authority. And we know that the higher your authority, the larger your salary and better your job security. The next one is lack of communication. Now, it should be said that leaders need to tell their employees about the change as well as give their employees spaces and opportunities to let their voices be heard. However, if this does not happen, employees can feel confused as to why the change is even taking place in the first place. Now, as a result, this can invoke a fear of the unknown. Another reason is bad timing. And this is when employees decide to use an inappropriate time and atmosphere to announce a change. And this can cause panic throughout the workplace. So, for example, if a business had currently undergone a big change, it would not be wise for the leader to make new changes anytime soon because the employee may need to adjust. Becoming jobless. Now, many employees can feel intimidated by change, especially when it comes to technological change, as there is a chance that a piece of technology can replace their job one day. Some employees may also think that any kind of change can compromise their position in the company, as these changes allow for change in their day to day procedures. And as said before, employees like comfort. Employees like to know that what they did today, they'll do tomorrow and in the next year. Distrust and inadequate support. So employees may not trust the formation of change if it is being done by a leader that they don't trust or they have had past grievances with. And there may be reason for this. The employees may have not gotten the support from their leader in the past, and this can affect how they perceive change. Employees may also feel a sense of self-doubt, and they may ask themselves, can I actually be part of successfully implementing what the business is set to do? And this point actually depends on if the company prepares their employees for the change through things like training and giving them tools to succeed. And I would like to read this quote by Goodwin, 2014, and it says that one reason people resist change is because they focus on what they have to give up instead of what they gain. And I think that this statement summarizes the fundamentals of why employees resist change. With this in mind, I like to move on to the next slide. Can I have the next slide? Thank you. Now, this slide displays a few well-known individuals who resisted change during the 19th and 1800s. Now, please note that these changes are related specifically to advancements in technology. So the first person on the left we see is Daryl Zanuck, who was at the time an executive at the 20th Century Fox. And in 1946, he said television won't be able to hold on to any market it captures after the first 6 months. People will soon get tired of staring at a plywood box every night. Now we have the guy in the middle who is Horace Rackham, and back in 1903, he was the president of Michigan Savings Bank, and he was told that at the time he wanted to invest in Ford Motor Company, and he was told that the horse is here to stay, but the automobile is only a novelty, a fad. Well, he did decide to invest in Ford, and now Ford is one of the most popular automobile brands worldwide. The last guy is Sir William Preece, and he was a chief engineer of the British Post Office. And in 1967, he said that the Americans have need of the telephone, but we do not. We have plenty of messenger boys. Now we know that everyone has a phone which can actually send and receive letters through emails faster than a post office ever could. This leads us to the next slide. So I want you to reflect on this question. Have you tried to resist a new system at school or work? Anyone? Well, if you have, you could just think about it. And it is important to put yourself in the perspective of subordinates when it comes to why they may resist change, so you can know what to do in order to kind of reduce that resistance. And this takes us to the next slide. So now we are going to discuss techniques leaders can use to reduce the resistance of change. So the first thing you as a leader should do is communicate the change that is going on and educate them on why the change is needed or essential. So Murphy says that only 15% of employees always understand the rationale behind their leaders' strategies. So obviously, not telling employees your strategy will allow them not to be more effective in doing their part in actually making that change become successful. The second thing that should be done is training employees. So we know that employees shouldn't have doubt, and we talked about this earlier, that companies should actually train their employees so they know exactly what to do. And an example of a company that actually took this step seriously is Canadian Airlines, where the superiors actually spent a year and a half preparing and training employees before changing its reservation, airport, cargo, and financial system. This was done so the employees could actually grow accustomed to the new protocol before it happened. The next one, leaders should, if possible, actually let their employees partake in the inner workings of change that will take place so that they can feel a sense of involvement. And this will further motivate them to actually want to change, want the change to happen. So Gartner states that the success rate of change actually increases by 24% when employees get to participate. Employee participation allows the leader to see things through the perspective of the employee and discover particular issues that employees may only be able to see. In some cases, leaders may actually have to negotiate with trade unions that represent their employees' concerns, and this can be time consuming on the business, but it must be done sometimes. Industries that have strong unions include the transportation, telecommunication, construction, and manufacturing sector. The last technique leaders should use to decrease the resistance of change is coercion. And this should be the last scenario because coercion, for a little background information, is when the business actually forces employees to accept the change with the threat of losing something. And businesses can actually threaten employees with demotions, wage reductions, suspensions, or even discharging them. And discharging means firing them. We'll move on to the next slide. So the next topic that we have is the upsides and downsides of change. So after business puts the change into action, there will more likely be negative and positive effects. I want you to know that every disadvantage has an advantage and vice versa. And it is your job as a leader to find all possible disadvantage so that you can be prepared for the consequences. I'll be using a case study called Overcoming Resistance to Change, where Howard Manufacturing Company actually implemented new technologies such as artificial intelligence, smart factories, and communication technologies in order to, increase productivity. And the case study kind of summarized the effects of this decision on the business. And I will be using this as an example to demonstrate the advantages and disadvantages of this change. So the first upside of this decision was that it reduced costs. So it is well known that technology does reduce costs as it assists the employees in getting their job done in a short amount of time. And this was the upside. But the downside was that it increased the employees' responsibility of learning how to use these technologies, thus increasing their stress. Another upside of implementing new communication technology is that it ensures that employees can send and receive messages at a faster rate than before, but productivity increases, but it also encourages the development of poor relationships as the employees may feel the need to make less connections with their coworkers. The next point is that although we know all of these new technologies would overall improve productivity, it can start to make employees think that during the next change, the business will actually install technology that can just do their job instead of just helping them with their job, if you know what I mean. So, and this leads us to the next point, which says that the main downside to change is downsizing. So the company will eventually think about replacing employees with technology after seeing how efficient it was. But the downside to this is that downsizing allows the business to lose employees. And we'll move on to the next slide on how downsizing can affect a company. So the last topic I'd like to address is downsizing. So first of all, what is downsizing? Well, downsizing refers to the intent to intentionally reducing the size of a company's workforce. Reasons why organizations downsize is to decrease expenses. So businesses may notice that they are not earning enough money compared to the expenses they need to pay. So firing staff will reduce the amount of money they have to pay on salaries. The next reason is because it may improve efficiency and productivity. So as said before, with the Howard Manufacturing Company, a business may fire staff to replace them with technology that may be more efficient in doing their job. Then we have it may be due to economic crisis. And economic crises like a recession can actually force employees to fire people as an easy solution. Then due due to employees under performance. And what this means is that is that employees may be fired because they already have low performance. And due to this economic crisis I've talked about before, this can be a factor that decides whether you are getting laid off because you're not doing the job at an expected rate already. And the last reason is because the business may be changing its structure. So a business may decide that it doesn't need a particular department, for example, maybe a customer service department, which would cause them to fire most of the employees and leave essential workers to do all the tasks related to that department. The negative effects of downsizing on surviving employees, meaning employees who were not fired, include job insecurity. So we talked about that before. And then we have reduced productivity, which means that employees might be distracted trying to figure out if they are getting fired next, and this will likely affect their productivity at work. The last reason is if employers start downsizing without informing their employees of this, it can actually cause the loss of trust and loyalty, as employees may think that the company doesn't care about them enough to tell them about this. So why should they be loyal to the company? Leaders can reduce the negative effects by regaining and maintaining employee loyalty. And leaders can do this by letting employees who remain know how much they are appreciated and valued at the company so as to not lose their loyalty with the company. They should also instill open communication. For example, managers should have a session where they talk about the need for downsizing and their plans for the forthcoming future. This way, employees will not be worried about losing their jobs and gossiping about who's next, because this, as said before, reduces productivity. Then they should also allow voluntary leaves, and this can be convenient for, for employees who actually have other job offers from other companies. The last thing that they should do is ensure that laid off employees are taken care of in some way. They could maybe provide dismissal wage, professional guidance programs, and other benefits or connections that the company can provide. This way, employees know that if they are fired, the company will not just discard them without trying to help them. Can I have the next slide? Downsizing should be the final option because it causes so many negative effects on the business. Some activities that can be done before this option include demoting employees, implementing transfers if possible, letting off persons who are not permanent or full employees, and this should include part-time employees and paid interns, and enforcing salary cuts. But this one should obviously, you should inform your employees before doing this, and you should tell them why you're doing this. So finally, I would recommend that you look at the case studies titled "A Survey of the Practices of Staff Downsizing Among the Major Oil Firms in Kenya" and Exploring Downsizing, a case study of airline companies of Pakistan, because these case studies went more into detail of why companies decided to downsize and how this action affected their companies. I also use these case studies to assist my research on this topic, so they will be found in the references. Can I have the next slide, please? Conclusion. What did we learn today? We learned that change is inevitable, so leaders should be prepared to handle its difficulties. Leaders who manage change effectively have specific attributes in common, and that should be adopted. We learned that there are 8 stages to follow when leading an important change. We also learned that leaders should use 4 subtle tactics to lead everyday change. Innovation is the main way to keep up with change, so therefore, companies should be innovative. There are 5 strategies organizations should use to be innovative. Can I have the next slide, please? Conclusion continued. We also learned that companies should also allow their employees to partake in strategies that will stimulate their creative minds. There are many reasons why employees resist change, and the leader should keep this in mind so that they can ease them into the process. Leaders can and do use techniques to decrease the resistance to change. There are both negative and positive effects of change, with the negatives mostly impacting employees and by extension, the business. The main negative effect of change is downsizing, and this should be a last resort as there are more ways to solve the business's problems. Can I have the next slide, please? I'd like to leave you with this quote by Heraclitus, which says, "The only constant in life is change." And I think this summarizes what we've been trying to say. Can I have the next slide, please? These are our references. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you for listening. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, if there are no questions, I'll pause the recording.